think girls realize how much they expose about themselves the more that they talk. Let me give you an example so you see where I'm coming from, right? So one time I picked this girl up from work, right? And keep in mind, me and this girl been talking for a while. This is one of the first times that I see her, right? So we're having regular conversation. She gets in the car, right? Having regular conversation, going back and forth. And then she goes on to say a sentence that got me to thinking, right? She goes on and says, I can tell a lot about you just by your name. You're African, right? And when she first said that, I didn't really think much of it, but she goes on to say that a lot of Africans have similar characteristics based on their name. So it took me a minute to process that. But she said it though, and as she says it, she says, yeah, like, I keep in mind, my name is Lysander. There's nothing African about the name, but yeah, I'm African. Keep in mind, yes, I'm African, but my name is Lysander. There's nothing African about the name, but I just let it slide. So she goes on to say, yeah, like, I messed with an Olu before, and a lot of Olus are, cheaters, they're this and they're that.
Ladies, mistake number one. You're talking about another guy while you're on the date. Never make that mistake. No one likes that. What if this man was telling you about a Sandra that he went on a date with? Wouldn't you feel like, oh, I don't care. Why are you telling me this? That's number one. Number two, the idea that you know somebody's character trait based on their name, isn't that bird brain behavior? Like their parents chose a name at random or whatever meaning they had behind it. It doesn't have any correlation to how the person was raised. It doesn't have any correlation to what the person chose not to continue from their family. What about the work that they've done in their life? It doesn't matter, right? The fact that you think a name is mixed in with someone's character trait, I don't know.
She's telling me all about Olus, right? She's saying, and if you don't know, Olu is is a very common surname in Nigeria, right? So it's like Oluwa, and then it'll be the name. So she tells me, oh yeah, one thing about these Olus, they're very untrustworthy, they're cheaters, they're this and that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. And then something told me to ask her about another common African name. So I'll go and say, okay, what do you think about Samuel?
Ooh, this man is good. Like, he's getting her to spill all her business. Let me see if she's gonna take the bait. Let me see if she's actually, has nothing going on up there.
And she goes on to tell me, yes, Samuels are very nice. Samuels are very caring. Samuels are this, that, and the third.
She took the bait.
I asked her, like, have you ever messed with a Samuel? She said, yeah. That's how I know so much. I'm like, okay, cool. She has a little history, nothing too major. But then something told me, let me ask her about another name, right? What's another common African name? I said, okay, what do you think about a Michael?
Ladies, that's the third tip that you can take from this video. It's 2026. Keep some things in. Don't tell the men everything. Even if that's your husband, he should not, like, I'm going so far. And mind you, this is a first date. But even if this man is your husband, there are things you just need to take to the grave, work on yourself, don't be that person anymore, and move on. Only you and God should know certain things. You and God. And move on. This isn't lying to your husband. This is just, okay, we all had a life. We all had a past. I'm better now. I'm different. We're moving on. The past is not me. So you're sitting on a date telling this man, giving this man a rundown of all the, mind you, every name you mention, he already knows, like, bro, like, y'all, something was done. Like, you're giving him the history of the men you dated.
Keep in mind, I'm from Ghana, so there's a lot of Michaels. So I'm like, what do you think about Michael? She said, oh my gosh, don't get me started on Michaels. This is where my heart started to drop. Because why is it that every name that I give you, you have something to say about the name? So this is when my heart started to drop a little bit, and a little tear came out of my eye, because it's like, you have a little bit too much history, but that's neither here nor there. She goes on to tell me about the Michaels. She says Michaels are, shy at first, but after a while, after you get under their skin, they're very vulnerable and this, that, and the third. I'm like, wow, okay.
You took the bait.
It took me a minute to process it. Then I gave her another name. I just threw it out there. I gave her the most randomest name ever. but that's an African name. I said, what do you think about David's? She said, David's. Oh my gosh.
Girl, you're slow. I had to stand up for this. You're slow. And I don't ever call people slow because it's not nice. It's not nice. But at this point, it's 2026. Stop taking bait from men, okay? Stop. I'm so mad right now.
In my head, I said, oh my gosh. Like, how do you know about David's? She goes on to say, David's, they like to spend money. You know, they're very caring. I'm like, yo. Like, how do you, like, it's just too many. It's just too many. So I took a 5-minute break. Because at that point, I ran out of names. So at that point, I took a 5-minute break. So I took a 5-minute break. And as I'm driving, I'm going to my destination, I'm thinking about another name. But at this point, I'm thinking about a name that's not very common. That's not very common, at least in our generation. I want to see if she'll say something, right? So after the 5-minute break, you know, I look back at her and I say, yo, back on the conversation that we were talking about with names, you know anything about Muhammad's? And if you're African, you know there's no young person named Muhammad. It's always older. So I said, you know anything about Muhammad's? She looked me in my eyes and she said, Muhammad's, they're very unique. I said, yeah.
Yo.
Like, like, at that point, I almost wanted to just turn off the car and just stop and just process what's going on. Because how do you know, like, what type of experience do you have with so many Africans? And keep in mind, half of the names I gave her was my cousin's name. So now I have to do my research. Because why do you know about each and every one of these African names? Like, it's not that common. And then to make it matters worse, you're comparing these names to my American name. My name is Lysander. There's nothing African about that name. Nothing African about that name. So now you're going to go to the next guy and say, oh, African names, Lysanders, they're very, like, at that point, my heart dropped. Like tears was falling down my eyes. Like, granted, a girl can have history, but cool. But, like, yo, like, damn. Like, you telling me every African name I give you could give us a history line, and she didn't see nothing wrong in what she was, like, she was just giving out characteristics. Like, she didn't see nothing wrong with what she was doing. Like, it wasn't until my facial expression showed that she was like, hey, I talk too much. But it's like, the damage has already been done. Like, after all I know, you probably talked to my Uncle Muhammad. You probably talked to him too. Like, at this point, like, my days. Now I have to go back to the drawing board, bro. Like, one thing about it, the more you just have to let girls talk. The more they talk, the more you learn about them. The more you learn about them, for sure.
And mind you, this isn't just about girls. It's everyone. It's anyone. Let them talk long enough, you'll get your answer. And for my ladies out there, the ones who are single and dating, please do not talk about all your experience. Not to say go to the date saying, yes, I'm Virgin Mary, never went on a date, never done any. Like, I'm not saying that. But don't be saying, yeah, I dated Michael, John, Peter, Joseph, They're like singing it out. Like, don't do that. That's disgusting. Like, the man knows, like, based on your age, like, okay, there's a certain of history that this girl has, but don't confirm it to say that, like, yeah, you've been out with John, Peter, Paul, Matthew, Mark. Like, bro, relax. Like, take this as a lesson, you guys. Like, you don't benefit anything from letting men know that you've dealt with a long laundry list of men. Like, please don't do that. That's not good. Okay, now this man is thinking about, like, oh, did this girl date my uncle? Did this girl date my cousins? Like, no man wants to know, like, okay, I'm about to treat this girl to a nice dinner, and then I'm gonna treat her good because she has a long history with other men. No man thinks like that. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and leave in the comments. Let me know if you've done this before as a girl. Okay, and a lot of the times you don't hear back from the men because you left a bad taste in their mouth. Okay, telling them that you dated so many men, bad taste. Okay, so let me know if you've done that. Let me know if you've never done that because you know better. Let me know if it's your mom or your auntie or your grandma who have taught you not to say too much to men. Okay, your mouth will keep you single. Let me know who taught you not to do that. I'll see you guys in the comments. Thank you guys for watching.